Hi everybody, we're going to talk about the second method that you're going to learn for solving systems of equations, which is by substitution. First of all, let's talk about maybe a real world situation where you would see substitution. Okay, I am constantly making pancakes for my little girl because she just loves them. That's all she ever wants. And so here's the recipe that I follow for pancakes. Pretty standard recipe, and most of these things are things that I have in my pantry all the time, except for buttermilk. Buttermilk is not something that I really ever buy from the store. So you might think, hey, she doesn't have buttermilk, then she can't have pancakes. But you would be wrong, and you would be hungry, because you can still make this recipe, but we're just going to substitute something else for the buttermilk. So here's the handy dandy list of ingredient substitutions that I use when I am making any kind of food, really. If I don't have this ingredient, then I can use this instead. So notice it says 1 cup of buttermilk is the same as a tablespoon of lemon juice or vinegar plus enough milk to make 1 cup. So basically, if I don't have buttermilk, I can just use a mixture of milk and vinegar, and it would be the same thing as if I had buttermilk. And so that's what I do. I never have buttermilk, so I use milk and vinegar instead. So I substitute milk and vinegar mixture instead of the buttermilk, and I get the exact same pancakes. Okay, so the pancakes that I wasn't able to make because I didn't have buttermilk, I can make now because I substituted. Okay, so let's take that idea of substitution and see what it looks like in math. Okay, so here's a pretty easy visual example for you. So here I have $1. I know that's the same thing as 4 quarters, right? 4 quarters equals $1. Well, I also know that $1 is equal to 10 dimes. That's the same thing. But now with substitution, if both of these things are equal to $1, that means that these things should equal each other. Oops, let's get an equal sign. Right? Doesn't that make sense? 4 quarters is $1 and 10 dimes is $1, so these two things should be equal to each other. So instead of $1, I'm substituting quarters, or I'm substituting dimes. Okay, so that's kind of the idea that we're using when we solve equations by substitution. So let's take a look at this example here. It says use substitution, or it says using substitution to help us solve. So solve the system of equations y equals 15x minus 82 and y equals negative 4x plus 32. Now, the only method that we know so far for solving is by graphing. So if I were to graph these equations, I would notice right off the bat that the y-intercept for this equation is negative 82. And that's just a number that is not on my graph. It is way down there. And same with positive 32. That's way up there. It's not even on my graph. So graphing is just not going to work for this system. So you might think that, hey, I can't graph it. I can't do it. That's wrong. I'm going to think now, instead of saying I can't graph it, I'm going to think, well, what can I substitute here to help me solve this? Well, notice that I'm saying that y is equal to this, and y is also equal to this. It's like my dollar bill example. It's like saying $1 is equal to this, and $1 is also equal to this. So they must be equal to each other. So let me write that out. Now we have 15x minus 82 is the same as negative 4x plus 32. Notice I just took this value right here and substituted it here. Since this is equal to $1 and this is $1 right here, I just replaced it. And now I have an equation that I can solve. This is something I can do. It's a linear equation and it just has one variable, x. So I should be able to solve this. My goal for this now is to get the x's by itself isolated on one side of the equation and my constants on the other, and then I will find a value for x. And eventually I'll be able to find a value for y as well. I'm not going to go through the steps right now because it'll take too much time, but this is just to give you an idea of what you're going to see in the upcoming videos for how we substitute in order to help us solve equations that we couldn't graph. Okay, go ahead and move on to the next lesson videos, and good luck.